Do a roll call?
Let's do roll call.
Roll call.
Councilmember Compton,
He'll be late. Now.
Emerling Baker,
Here.
Farrell,
Excuse.
Happy,
Here.
Keller,
Excuse.
Miller,
Here.
Mayor Bell.
Here. All right.
All right, so at the October 23rd council meeting, the draft of the strategic plan was presented to council. Council determined they wanted to table any further discussion for a deeper dive into the plan. After that discussion, this is the meeting to go over that. Presented is slightly updated based off of the comments from that meeting, and I will go over those changes. Any questions at this point?
I'm sorry, but I was full.
Sorry.
My question is, the updated plan encompasses the changes that are.
Correct, yeah, I was gonna go over them really quick here to start off the meeting. Yeah. So let me share my screen. Figure out how to do that. We scroll down to page 13. Yeah, I think 13 is the first change. The discussion we had at the meeting in October was and I'll agree, they kind of have a tone, kind of old versus new residents of the community, so that was a change. So in the paragraph, enhanced communication networks, removal of new and old residents, and just enhanced communication between residents. Next change, you scroll down to,
It's on, they took out this and put in
which one is that?
on 13.
Oh, on 13, oh yeah, sorry, that one was on page 6, on 13. If we go to, let's go a little bit slower. This was, I think Pete, your comment you brought up about, it says this plan, and I wasn't clear about what this plan was, and this is just clarifying, we're talking about the plan, 2023 strategic plan, yeah. Because there was discussion about multiple plans, the trail plan and other items.
The preceding page is the 1992 downtown development plan.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the confusion there.
Yeah, exactly. If we go down to page 15 here, there were a couple instances where I talked about Main Street, and council wanted to clarify that we were talking about Wanapa. Since, yeah, it's our Main Street, but we don't have Main Street, so that's the first instance. There's 2 or 3 others where that is updated.
You did a control, or something to find and replace.
Okay.
You just replaced any place where Main Street was with one of.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I had to put these changes together, yeah. Here, if we go down the next page to 16, we have a couple changes here. Again, this first one, talking about the split in the demographics, that was removed again to kind of remove that tone of a split community when we're talking about one community, not 2.
And can you specifically mention what we're talking about? What paragraph is that?
Would it be helpful if I ran this off, because it has all the changes?
Yeah, I didn't see that, and so I'm trying to look.
Oh, did you not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody else see one of the changes?
I can write it. Will we eventually get one?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay. I don't mind writing it, but
And I
I
don't mind, I just wanted some clarification of where we are when you're making.
Yes, yeah.
so you're showing it on the screen.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so
Easy to see
Pete,
it.
because I keep looking at my paper, I forget to look at the screen too.
Yeah, yeah, so page 15, the third, I guess. Second new paragraph. Below the graph, we took out that first sentence, we're talking about kind of divide in the population. where it just talks about that you have a changing population, not a split
Do
in
you
the
want one with the
population.
track changes in it?
Yeah.
No, that's
Okay.
better wording.
Yeah.
And I
Ready.
gotta look at my old one too, because I got. my
Marilyn,
old
are we
computer, so,
taking this
okay.
from somebody else, or we had them? No, okay.
15, bear with me here, so you can help.
Okay, I do like it with the track change.
If you wanna do
You wanna look what you got?
Yeah, I can follow along.
So what was the change on 15? Because I don't see that noted on.
I think he means 16, right?
Here's 15, right here.
Yeah, the monopause.
One shot, and then go to 16.
Yeah, you got it, thank you.
Yeah, that's not specifically noted, but it was kind of a theme that Amanda and I both took out from that meeting in October was to remove any kind of tone or instance where we talk about a split community.
Thank you.
Yes. And so we hop down to the affordable housing section, the third paragraph, a working comp, what's considered affordable. And I think there were, if I remember correctly, a few instances about, there were some sections that said we were lacking affordable housing, some sentences that we did have enough, so a little more clarification on the data that Amanda added into this last paragraph on page 16 here.
I like that.
1/3 of the housing, Cascade Locks, is in the rental market. Most of the housing consists of single family dwellings. Only 9% of housing is multifamily. 60% of the rental market is considered overburdened with housing costs for the 2020 census. A little more detail on the housing market and what is affordable in Cascade Locks. And then top of page 17, we have the paragraph. A little more detail on lack of affordable and workforce housing. And what the definition of really what those are, because I believe that was lacking earlier.
I like that. I like that.
And then, yeah, going down page 17, commercial and industrial section, just had a small grammatical of maintenance of electrical, water, street, sewer maintenance.
Six.
Yeah, not maintenance.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Thanks.
This is page 18. Again, remove Main Street, put in Wanapah Street. The last section, weaknesses, and again, lack of affordable housing, remove and add multifamily housing and other affordable rental units. Page 19, under community development, sort of bullet point. And remove affordable, because this is where it kind of contradicted itself, where we're talking about not having affordable housing, and then a paragraph later, we say we are affordable. So we took that out.
I like that, just Cascade Locks is an attractive place.
Yeah. Page 20, on the third bullet point, is it keeping track there? Fourth bullet point, again, replace Main Street with Wanapah Street. The fifth bullet point at the very bottom of page 20 added workforce, so it's a lack of affordable and workforce housing.
And all the meetings, they're using affordable.
Yeah. Page 21, that top paragraph, remove affordable, to mention just the development of more housing in Cascade Locks. And not to focus just on affordable housing.
Should it, instead of more, should it say additional, or was there with more? Develop of more housing, or development,
And that's
additional
up to you
housing.
guys.
Is it,
Grammar wise,
what happens if we make more changes tonight?
I'm keeping track of changes, I'm gonna review, I'll type it here and keep track of. And then we'll come back, finish editing and have a clean copy.
Additional is probably more grammatically correct, but
right, so the development of additional housing or the development of more housing? Any thoughts on that?
I'm ambivalent on the subject of additional, I think it sounds better now. that it's
Yeah.
said.
Alright.
It's
so-
fancy this year. Let's see here, this would be 21 again, a little bit farther down, enhanced communication networks, yeah, we're moving the old and new, we're about one community, not two different communities. And that's some points that kind of repeats itself,
Right.
which is typical in plans, again, page 22, that third bullet point, develop trust with the community. Removing the new and old.
Okay.
Question on that.
Yeah.
So it's saying that the city needs to improve communication systems, develop bridges and communication paths between residents. And then the same tools can be used to foster communication between the city and business, new and old. But where does it talk about communication between the city and residents?
That's part.
I don't see that said there. Where does it say that in that?
Since because the city's improvement is communication and building bridges and communication. Well, you're right, it can either say communication paths.
So I feel like that was the,
With residents, should be with residents there.
it sounds like we want to improve communication tools for our residents to talk to each other, but I thought we were trying to say that we need to do a better job of the city communicating with residents.
The city needs
For
to.
the, or would you just say community, residents versus, or community versus residents?
We can say with and between residents. What do you think of that? Are we making paths for residents to talk to each other with and between residents?
I didn't think that that was what the identified issue was. I thought the identified issue was that their residents felt like there was poor communication between the city and residents. Not that they wanted to have more effective communication tools to talk to each other.
Okay, then, is that,
I think
we all
that's-
agree, so it should say with instead of between. The city needs to improve communications to build bridges and communication paths with residents.
Which bullet point is this?
It's right there on page 21, enhanced communication networks. It's where the correction was made between new and old residents. It says the city needs to improve its communication systems to build bridges and communication paths between residents. These same tools can be used to foster communication between the city and businesses, new and old, and encourage interagency collaboration and coordination with the port. I just find that really confusing.
So I think it should be with instead of between in the top sentence.
So these same tools can be used to
What about
foster
just-
communication with the city?
Well, what about
With
between, the city and residents?
The city needs to improve its communications, to build bridges and communications. Between, but we already said the city, but between the city and, so we don't need to say that again grammatically. So I say just with, but. Because
The
then
city
we have
needs to
the,
improve its communication systems to build bridges and communication paths with residents. Is that clear?
okay, you like between the city and residents.
I just wanna make it really clear.
Okay, you're right,
that's-
the city and residents is more,
Between
is
the-
clearer. The city and
City and
residents.
residents.
So, can
Okay.
you say that again?
The city needs to improve its communication systems to build bridges and communication paths between the city and residents,
How about the city and its residents? You just
And-
make it,
its residents. Okay,
All right, I got
Thank
that added.
very good, that was a good catch.
Okay. So again, page 22, that third bullet point, removing the new and old within, describing the community. Page 23, when it mentions on the fourth bullet point, Oak Ridge, Oregon, it expands on that example of how Oak Ridge worked with, Orchard Health to bring a full service medical clinic to that small little town. I think Oak Ridge is roughly our size, maybe slightly bigger.
Wise.
Oh, is it? Okay. I know it wasn't like 12,000, but it was slightly bigger.
They're 3,000.
Okay,
And you're still small.
yeah, and they're kind of off the beaten path too, aren't they? Not,
Yeah, Highway 58, heading towards the mountains from Eugene.
any comments regarding the, vision, mission, or values? And then we kind of jump down to the meat of the plan itself, action items. There was, if you go to page 28. Public service and adds. That last paragraph, this could be achieved in flexible short-term staffing options and in long-term for tax levy, utility rate increases or grants, foundations, loans, and collaborations with other public organizations. So not just relying on taxes or any fees. Page 29 adds workforce to the description of affordable housing.
Okay. Can we just go back to that? This could be achieved through flexible short-term staffing options, and in the long term.
And we're on
long term-
29.
Yeah, back to the 28. This is, and in the long term, comma, through tax levy utility rate increases. Comma, get rid of or grants, foundations, loans. And or, then you can put and or. So there's a comma after the prepositional phrase in the long term. There's a comma after rate increases and get rid of or, and then we have grants, foundations, loans. And or collaborations with other partner organizations, because it's just a list of ways.
But I do feel like there's that comment that says and in the long term, so it's sort of separating the. Kind of short-term staffing options versus long-term grants, foundation loans and collaboration.
That and will stay.
Do you think that those all fall under the long-term staffing options?
Grants are not long-term, grants are usually one time.
Okay, then we need to, this could be achieved through. Flexible short, but the short term is only flexible short-term staffing options. And in the long term,
But they're kind of broken out into three sections, the flexible short-term staffing, the long-term tax levy utility, or grants, foundations, loans, or collaboration with partners.
okay,
So that's kind of the idea, was
Yeah.
it's sort of chunked into three different.
Three different-
sections.
okay, so then say the or there. But do put a preface, a comma after long term.
And then we drop down to the actual draft with the action items, so I guess at this point, we can go back. To the list of. Questions, remarks, changes, that council provided me back in. Early November, end of October, some of them were addressed, some of them were not. So I guess it's up to council, how do you want to proceed in the continued review of this document?
I don't mind reading the, now that we have this, but which doesn't have it. Or you don't have to keep reading it aloud, but whatever y'all want.
My thought was we
Changes or.
we kind of break this up into two sections, the narrative part at the top, and then the action items at the bottom, for the second half.
Okay,
So if I get anything up through page 30, in the more narrative end of it.
Mhm.
One. Going through the list of comments from council, the first one on page 13, this plan that was updated already. Section page 15, changing Main Street to Wanapah Street, that was updated.
SBDC, we got that.
Did we get that? Okay.
I've been looking at this too as we're
Okay.
going,
I
so
would-
Okay.
everything that we've talked
Okay.
about.
Perfect.
Page 20, I don't know about that.
Mention of unequal application city development using codes, I was determined.
Is there mention of money? Limit staff capacity and corresponding unequal application of the city's development and nuisance codes make for a very unfriendly business environment. So that's in the third paragraph down. So it is there.
Just now,
Okay.
yeah. And I think that goes back to more of, we were really complaint based. We weren't, I guess, active in it, or I guess we were more passive. And so one resident didn't like something another resident was doing, and they made a recommendation or a complaint, we had to act on it, but it wasn't.
We weren't
fairly-
necessarily, because there's other people that may be violating or not complying.
Correct, and stuff that's more visible on Wanapah, on Forest, gets more complaints than the stuff on Mountain View. That's behind the trees and nobody sees, so yeah.
And I guess, but to the question though, how is this determined? How did that end up in the, strategic plan? Was that something that came up through the surveys then, that we got that feedback?
I'm trying to remember if it was or not, to be honest. I know Amanda and I had discussions about it, on how our system worked, it's complaint based.
And we did all the interviews with all the
Yeah,
counselors, so I mean,
yeah.
it could have come through any of those.
It could have, yeah.
And I have heard from constituents that complaint.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it came up because some of those constituents were
Can
here.
you put perceived in there, the perceived corresponding unequal occupation? I mean,
I've done a lot this time again.
There
There you go.
Next little paragraph.
Did you,
limited capacity and.
I mean, that makes sense, so, limited staff capacity and corresponding perceived unequal application of these development, because that is it feels as though it's unequal.
It does.
Yeah.
so you want the word perceived in there?
What do you guys think of that?
Well,
I mean, for those of us that are involved, I think, you know, it's not just perceived, it actually
Right.
reflects reality.
but there is an unequal application of the city development and nuisance codes. So it isn't perceived, it has occurred.
But I think the word perceived also means that it's not just, the way it is, but the town feels it. If that makes sense? Does that make sense, George?
Yes, but I think you could also perceived as in it's imaginary.
Yes, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah,
It has a negative connotation to it, actually, you're trying to. make it-
perceived makes it seem like it isn't really reality.
Well, right, it perceived
Your
is,
perception is,
yeah, I mean, you're trying to be positive, but it has a negative connotation.
Well, and there's an actual quote there, so obviously
Sean, do you
somebody
have a
complained.
packet?
no, I think
I think Maryland's.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
21 we already addressed.
So are we doing perceived or?
No, don't have it, no, please.
Twenty-one,
Build bridges and roads.
Okay, building bridges, yeah, we.
We took care of that.
Yeah, we took care of that.
Section two,
Nice of you brought that up, because I did note that too, about the time restrictions. Recommended potential time restriction, can we do that? Are there restrictions on where we can place time restrictions? So for example, on 1 o'clock, for the state highway.
I'm feeling you can as long as you talk with ODOT. Because there are places that have, like look at, Oak Street in downtown River is technically Highway 30,
Recommend.
which has plenty of parking meters on it, so it happens.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because City of Hood River took over Oak Street.
yeah, we'd have to get any kind of action would be through ODOT's permission, so.
Yeah.
That might be a bit of a struggle, but it's worth something pursuing.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to add those words, because that's part of a parking plan, you know what I mean?
Where is that on page 21?
I don't think it is, I think someone wants to add it under the second bullet under downtown redevelopment, it says. Contract for the development of a parking plan. Identify opportunities, shared use. Potential time restrictions, and it's already in there, recommend potential time. Page 22, under downtown redevelopment, second bullet,
Thank you.
it's already in there.
It already, yeah, recommend potential time.
I think that their comment was, how are we going to do
The
that?
plan will do it, how we work.
Got it.
I will say, I wrote parking tickets in a previous job, and I loved it. I did it in college, I loved it.
Oh, my God.
Favorite job.
Oh,
So
no.
you're willing to do it for us?
Yes.
You're gonna be controlling the meter maid.
Oh, my God.
We'll get your little.
Yeah, you're gonna have.
Yeah.
Everything's got. We'll get a light on it.
All right, so leave that in there for now, and it's something to
Yeah.
explore at least.
It's something to explore.
Page 23,
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge you looked at, so yeah, at that point, that's last in the narrative section, is there anything else?
No,
Okay. One here,
Jordan, I don't mind if other people don't mind looking at the council thoughts at the same time we're looking at the tracks changes, so we're,
yes, yeah.
okay.
Let's see here, page 31, DR 1.1. Again, that adds, let's see here, did not support.
Grants, collaborations with partner organizations.
Yeah, adds, funding mechanisms, grants, and collaboration with others. The comment in here, I believe this was from Counselor Farrell, I don't think it was yours, Pete. About the downtown association, I know there's been issues with previous downtown associations, so. And I think there was concern about if we initiated another one, how viable it would actually be, so. So as council, that helping support the development of a downtown association, whether it's business group, Main Street. Do we want to keep that in there, since we already did the letter of support?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, so there's ways of supporting without funding.
Yeah.
Correct, yes. Page 32 at the top, again, we took out Main Street, put in Wanapa. And then comment here, recommendation DR 4.1. Talking about specifically CAT, Columbia Area Transit. The recommendation reads, working with downtown business association and local, state, and federal partners to enhance bicycle pedestrian access between downtown commercial district and trailheads. Do we want to add cat in there?
Well, community area transit isn't that a local, state or federal partner?
So Columbia Area Transit, they're a regional bus company based out of Hood River.
They're a district.
Yes, they're
Transportation
district, yes.
I don't think it is good to start adding names, because to add one name of an organization means we're not adding others. I think it's better to leave it vague with local, state and federal partners.
Yeah, we have, I guess technically two transit areas that service us. Stevenson's or Skamanius comes across the river, drops people off, picks them up. And then Cat goes all the way from the Dalles into Portland.
I think it just is a local.
Yeah, I'd say
local,
we leave
state,
it there.
federal.
Recommendation 4.2, added language, state and federal partners develop recreation opportunities. Go down to page 33. Recommendation CN 1.1. There's no changes from Amanda. And there's this comment from Councilor Farrell regarding Spanish translations. Misunderstood the council meeting, of course, we want translation services available to any resident. Just visualizing a newsletter in Spanish going out with English version to also households, which will increase our cost of supplies and postage when not necessary. Instead, maybe have a translated newsletter available in the office if someone should need, or mail out upon request, so. Knowing our limited budget. How extensive do we want those translation services to be, I guess? is the question.
Could we do a opt-in kind of thing? Where you request either in the office or something for future newsletters be sent to you in Spanish? Because
We could do something like that, yeah.
most Spanish-speaking residents that I know of, they don't really need or care about the English translation. They'd rather just have when they can read.
I don't think we need to really get into the weeds of the mechanism for how we'd actually accomplish.
No, but like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
agreed, yeah.
for the purposes of the strategic plan, I think it's good to mention that we need to do a better job of.
Okay, let's look at 1.1. Yeah, we don't necessarily have to even have it written if there is a link to, for carta en español, por favor, and then they can,
It blankets it,
right, okay.
provides opportunities for citizens to become involved, includes the Spanish speaking community.
Because,
Yeah.
socially updated website with translation services, yes, because then we have Russian Romanian folks here, we have Ukrainian folks, we have, so that there are such affordable or not free, the kid says they have them, that we click on it and it shows up translated.
Yeah, there's services there.
Okay,
Fine.
okay,
CN 1.2, remove language about old and new residents and then added, town halls as an option for communicating with residents. Do we want to leave town halls in there? Again, I think that was one Councilor Farrell was pushing for town halls.
does town halls have a specific definition that we need to meet? I suppose it's terminology, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a work session, it could be
I think,
open house, it's pretty vague in how it could be utilized.
that's fine, because it's examples, just an example, that's fine.
Page 33. Page 34. CN 2.2. By 2025, expand offerings of city services in Spanish, examples being the newsletter available in Spanish language options on the website. Add council agendas, but remove them, and then translation services at City Hall. Then again, probably not just Spanish, that is the most, I think, the second most spoken language in Cascade Locks.
Spanish is in Spanish.
So Spanish newsletters available in, or newsletters, just Spanish language options available, Spanish, not available in Spanish, and then Spanish language options.
This kind of, and I don't wanna just, newsletters, so you're saying get rid of available in Spanish? Spanish language options. Spanish language and other translation.
It seems unnecessary to add available in Spanish there, just because it says,
It's
it says,
redundant.
before the parentheses, it says, by 2025, expand offerings of city services in Spanish, example, newsletters. And
Yeah.
website, when we should be listing the things that need to be translated, not necessarily saying that they need to be in Spanish.
Not saying Spanish, I agree.
But our goal, the goal is to make city services accessible to all, and we are being,
We're starting with the most common language.
but I do think we need to say. Translation services. For a variety of languages at City Hall. Because the same programs that get it to you in Spanish can get it to you in Hmong or. For a variety of languages,
We can add Spanish and other necessary languages.
not necessarily
Not
Spanish and other,
Yeah,
Other
and other
requested.
necessary languages.
No, just other languages.
Just other languages, yeah, no necessary. They're all necessary.
so where are we adding that? Up at the top? By 2025, expand offerings of city services in Spanish and other languages?
I can do, jizz. I can
Other
do-
requested or other languages, other? I think requested, right?
I think that's what Jordan was saying.
Yeah, I guess requested, not necessary, yeah.
Other requested
That's what he was trying to get
languages,
to.
right, so that should have, yeah. Because right now we have Ukrainian speaking families here, maybe they do want to see it, they just never asked. True. Okay. And maybe translation services through City Hall, not at. Cause it might be a link. I don't want Maryland to have to do it, you know what I mean, or Carrie. Translation services through City Hall.
I mean, it'd be at City Hall. Most common, there's a fee to it. A lot of law enforcement have a on-call service. If they pull somebody over that speaks whatever language, they call that number, ask for the language, and there's somebody on the phone that speaks that language, they'll translate for them.
But I thought-
I think the fire department actually has something similar.
Right, I mean,
So
emergency,
we can add to that.
right, but I was just thinking written materials personally, but.
Well, even like the website, there's probably a plugin on WordPress that would allow you to
Yeah,
do the translation on the website.
yeah, Marilyn and I were looking at that. There's other cities that use our same website company that have a drop down that you click on it and 50 languages show up, and you click it and it translates.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
there's options.
yes, yeah, we are on top of it. Just gotta
Okay,
make sure
but if
we
you
have-
like at rather than through, I would have said through. Okay,
You wanna read it through what you're doing?
Yeah, so recommendation CN 2.2 by 2025, expand offerings of city services in Spanish and other requested languages. Examples, newsletter, website, and translation services at City Hall.
perfect,
That sounds great.
Perfect.
Page 34. CN 2.3.
No,
Yeah, they're just saying that the library's got it, nothing to change there.
I mean 35.
34, recommendation CN
That's the one we were-
2.3
Oh, yeah, no, I have pages off there.
Yeah.
by 2027. Provide and or have applications that bring wireless internet and public facilities anywhere throughout the community. What's the note? Yes, have free wireless.
Yeah.
Internet.
Page number gone off there.
35.
Yeah. Now, page 35, recommendation CN 2.1. Reword, reduced focus on architectural detailing, the way that the buildings look as a downtown theme is important. So it's currently written by 2027, modified development code to enable redevelopment of vacant properties within downtown, emphasizing the potential for mixed uses, broader range of short and long-term uses, joint use of parking lots, reduced height restrictions in exchange for enhanced safety features, measures, and then what's taken out was reduced focus on architectural detailing in lieu of focus on, and then increased focus on, massing and pedestrian impact and streamlined procedures.
Massing? What is that?
Gaining.
The other thing that's confusing, we should reword that.
We don't, I think they mean getting a lot of people together, but that doesn't,
You know,
it's a weird term.
Massing is,
Well, I do think the overall feel of the community is, I know we're supposed to have a theme in it on Monopod, but the buildings are all very different.
Yeah, somehow under our current code, both Gorgeous Beer and Thunder Island Brewing fell under the same code. I have no idea how.
I
They're
don't
two
know.
different buildings.
Yeah,
Joint use
So-
of parking lots, reduced height restrictions.
No idea.
So yeah, we want to scratch that out. Increased focus on.
We actually. We talked about this as staff, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, is, yeah, like I said, those two buildings fall under the same code, they look nothing alike. Do we want to make it more restrictive, like Sisters, where literally every building downtown looks exactly the same? Or open it up to give a little more leeway to businesses to build and operate how they want? I mean, which direction does council want to go? Because right now, yes, there's a code, but obviously there's no central theme to
there
it,
is.
other than earthly tones. Yeah, exactly.
Purple, I don't know where everybody came
Well-
out with purple, but I know when you drive into a town, like Sandy's a great example. They got quite a, I think at their Main Street, they got a lot of grants to redo the facade, so there's a general theme through the city. Sisters is pretty, that's a pretty extreme.
It's extreme,
They're
yeah.
very, everything looks cookie cuttered and everything, but. Leavenworth, that's a great example.
Themes, you know.
Yeah, the theme, but I know Sandy's, I think, a great example, they do have a particular architectural theme, but they're all very different still.
We
So-
still have an architectural theme. I think it's Cascade or something,
Yeah,
and we're working on.
But I don't know how,
We don't need to put that in there. I think it's great to get rid of reduced focus on, because it's already there.
I'm sorry, it's.
Yeah. Was that me?
Yeah.
I apologize. My alarm was an hour
Does
off.
council want to focus on architectural design and height restrictions, or, I mean,
No, I just say take that out, but we need to change that word massing.
yeah,
Increase focus on, I understand what they're saying.
Can you explain to me what they're saying?
I think they're meaning what some citizen recently said to me, we have too many open spaces, we have too many driveways coming off of Winapa, they should be on the side streets. So massing means putting it all together, and what is another term for that?
Google says massing is assemble or cause to assemble into a mass as, or as one body,
That's,
if that helps.
okay, with increased focus on, what is another term for when you're having lots of little shops?
Uniformity.
Well, no, not the same, but the lot of little shops next to each other. You said something.
Consolidating.
Consolidating, is that what we're thinking for?
That's probably the right word, it's just not a word that we're used to using.
Reduce height restrictions, change for enhanced safety measures. Will
Why
we
is
say
massing-
massing of businesses?
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for, is right now our downtown pretty spread out, with very hit or miss in terms of businesses.
Massing of buildings?
I'm really confused, I don't know what that means, I just still like, the word, it says increased focus on massing and pedestrian impact, so it's like the pedestrian impact and massing are supposed to be somehow
When you
connected.
have more buildings like co-located, so like like business and bakery on the ground floor with apartments above, it makes pedestrian travel easy because you just walk to it because you're in the same building as it, or building you're looking for is next door on the sidewalk, it's not a mile down the street.
So why don't we just say that we are focusing on pedestrian impact?
I like the term you just used. How about this? Increased focus on or increased focus on co-location of buildings, pedestrian impact, because we can see co-location.
Co-location's kind of getting in the weeds, I think.
But-
The same as multi-use buildings, it's, we already had that somewhere else in here.
I like co-location better
I
than
think
massing.
the focusing on pedestrian impact gets to the point
The
of what
point
the
of
other
it was to
things.
try
Right.
to improve the pedestrian impact,
Right.
and clear it up by just removing that first part, like.
I think pedestrian impact is a lot of things. I think it's sidewalks, it's, so that's why
Maybe it's-
we've lost the massing or the co-location phrase. If you don't say something.
It used to be that way back in the thirties, before the fire destroyed downtown. But since then, now you have all these open spaces between the buildings. So how do you get, like, Brigham's to give up their side yards, which they use for an eating area, and then you have
You would have to give up like the side yards necessarily.
Right, that's a nice
But like,
part of the building.
what's it like?
With increased focus on,
Like the post office building and the building next to it, or like, there's a chunk of just nothing between them. There doesn't need to be, they could be part of this, like, they could be next to each other.
well,
And
what
like
term,
other buildings like that, like,
I think the thought is somebody parks at Overlook Park, and you can essentially do a loop around on foot and hit 35 businesses, where right now it's 8.
or like, or all your services.
Yeah, all your services, yeah.
With, I mean, not necessarily like fire, because that's like, it's in a good location, it's.
Yeah, but you know, dentist, bank, bakery, whatever it is.
Yeah, the problem with this thing is the ownership of the property.
Oh, yeah. That's why you have to put it in like the building codes, when
Yeah,
it gets
that's-
rebuilt,
Yeah,
you don't have the problem.
yeah, that's where the code developer comes in, yeah.
And I'm in like the thought that we do need a more refined vision of our architectural plan. Cause it is not like, if Gorges can be built and Thunder Island can be built and the market could be built all in the same building code and kind of be entirely different buildings.
Well, the market was before, it was built in the 70s, and the current code, I think, was adopted.
Scandinavian, that was Scandinavian, you know, at the time.
This was the 70s, nothing good happened in the 70s.
hey, there's some good music.
Well, the current architecture plan was mid-90s, early 2000s.
Early 2000, the current one.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I think this is an overall strategic plan that the.
Well, that's where this comes in,
Right.
strategic plan, like,
Increase
do we
focus
need
on-
to have more architectural
Definition.
definition?
Mhm.
Doesn't necessarily need to be harder to build, it just needs to be more aesthetically in
Yeah, and
line.
That's the kind of the direction I would need from council as I move forward with this, as I develop, work with staff or whoever it is to develop this plan. Which direction am I going? More strict theme or less strict theme?
Is that really in here though? That's one of the.
It's,
CDC.
yeah, that's a later, I think, discussion, yeah,
So
How
can
about-
we read, go ahead.
no, sorry,
I'm just gonna read this from the top, so,
Okay.
by 2027, modify development code to encourage and enable redevelopment of vacant properties within downtown. Emphasis, I feel like this actually says a lot of this stuff already, emphasizing potential for mixed uses, broader range of short and long-term uses, joint use of parking lots, reduced height restrictions in exchange for enhanced safety measures. I think we could get rid of massing, increase focus on pedestrian impact, streamline procedures, et cetera. I just think massing is confusing and unnecessary because we already talked about mixed use.
how about, but we have never said anything about buildings right next to each other. When we get rid of massing, we get rid of that. So how about proximal, increase focus on proximal buildings, pedestrian impact, streamline procedures.
Density,
Proximal
Higher
building density, well,
density.
proximal meaning next to. So you can just say it with two words, proximal building, or but you could say proximal building density, pedestrian impact. You like that?
So
Is that,
asking says,
to say that again?
well, right there is where the red says,
So-
increase focus on,
Mhm.
we delete massing, we say. Proximal buildings or proximal building density, pedestrian impact, streamline procedures, etc. You like proximal building or proximal building density?
I think you go back to massing. Which
If
is don't,
the-
it's not, it's
we're-
not, like you said, it's not a definition, not like this.
It's just, I think you can leave massing. It's just a word that we're not from common, it's not in common vernacular, but it means what we want it to mean.
Okay,
It feels clunky because we're not used to hearing it, but when you like look up what it means and we go, yeah, that's what we want.
I just don't think it's clear what it refers to, that's all I'm saying, and I think that this document should be easily read by anybody.
well, that's why,
What do you want it to say?
I like changing it to, would you say proximal?
I said
Um,
proximal building and you said density, like
Yeah.
adding more, proximal building density.
I think
Just put building in front of massing, a building, focus on building massing or, cleanness. The narrow it.
I'm okay with either way.
and
To me, it's clear that if,
we also want this to be, yeah,
right,
clear to the next people. too.
right.
So I like the word density, because that's a word that I feel like it's
Just put building density, because if you have higher building density,
Mhm.
then you're gonna necessarily have to be closer together and.
Is everybody good with building density?
No, a proximal building density,
What's-
proximal means next to. Cause we all have density, a building itself can have density,
But if we're increasing density, how would you increase density without building the?
you could
buildings
go
closer?
taller, go fatter, you could go.
Closer to your edges of your property lines, which is
Right.
what,
But I think you
But
want to,
you could still have a lot of space, here's a dense building and here's a dense building. The building itself could be
I
dense,
see.
proximal means next to each other.
We have a height on.
Well, so I like proximal building density then, that way we're saying dense and close.
Okay, is that okay with
I'm
everybody?
good with it.
Try to get rid of
We're
this.
gonna replace one word with three, but
Okay.
All right, Jordan, you wanna read it?
Okay, so by 2027, modify development code to encourage / enable redevelopment of vacant properties within downtown, emphasizing potential for mixed uses. Broader range of short and long-term uses, joint use of parking lots, reduced height restrictions in exchange for enhanced safety measures, increased focus on proximal building density and pedestrian impact, streamlined procedures, etc.
Good?
I like it.
Good. 36.
Thank you.
36, 1.1, PF 1.1 added additional funding sources, grants, foundations, loans, and collaboration with partner organizations. Let's see here, if increased utility rates, consider increasing using gradual rates. So the lower, that larger, higher impact users may pay for increased public utilities. Let's see here. PS 1.3, add Oregon Historical Society was added to the partners. This is in terms of redeveloping City Hall. Page 36, 1.4. Return authority, and then this comment from Council Farrell, returning control of setting fees, taxes, and charges with council, and not a vote of the people.
It just says fees and rates
Where?
for council.
So that's for you guys to decide.
Yeah, but
So I think. Tammy's just saying she doesn't support that.
Correct, yeah, that was her comment, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't mean it shouldn't go in the plan. You know, it's something that we can vote on at a later time.
Right. Right,
Leave it as is.
I would.
I say leave it as is.
On to page 40. So now we're into more of kind of the outreach process, so that completes the action items. Any more review questions?
Did we go through 30, we got some other changes on here from page 37. Page 1.1, you got workforce added.
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah, I was looking at the list here from you guys. Yeah, page 37, 1.1, adding workforce, is to affordable. And then took out including broader use of, and just specifically mentioning accessory dwelling units, mass timber modular buildings, so. Yep. That's the last one I voted.
Okay. $39.
yeah, that's an easy, fix on.
Yeah, oh yeah, page 39, put in Goose Bay, took out that, and Cascade locks.
Good one.
Yeah, not important, yeah, right, city is helpful.
She was a planner for Goose Bay, that was in her head.
Oh, that makes sense.
Page 41, took out Main Street, put in Wanapa.
Or 40. Yeah, building.
Just changing the date and when we adopt it.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay.
I think that
Makes sense. Yes.
In 41, the question was whether or not we need to include that.
The adoption date?
No,
No.
page 41, there's a comment, like, in
Oh,
the
yeah.
comment, in the, margin there.
Go back up there. Oh, my page is one off.
Should we cut this?
Sure.
That's already the appendix. Are we in the appendix yet? Yes.
Just repeating the main portion plan,
I think it's still a good introduction.
I agree.
I
yeah.
agree, yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yellow line.
Yeah, we already have that.
44.
So it's the same.
Yeah, 44 again talks about Oak Ridge. Definitely certain spots that repeat itself.
Let's see. So it looks like it's in there, what the recommendation on 47 is the fourth bullet down at the bottom paragraph or bottom section. It says lack of activities for youth and seniors, so I don't know what the comment is, just, I guess, something for us to think about. But it's there, so that's good.
Yeah, I think the question, it was mentioned in the survey, but never specifically talked about anywhere in the action items to address lack of activities for youth or seniors.
I don't think there's any way to reword. And it says. Cascade lots are the most valued characteristics of the community, however, those who love the small town community still community feel still don't love the small town constraints. Don't love the small, like, that could be reworded a little bit,
Which paragraph is this?
the very top one. However, those who love the small town community feel still don't love small town constraints.
Those who love the small town community feel, don't love the small town constraints and community services.
Yeah,
We just don't need still in there.
yeah,
What page is this?
47.
47, I'm sorry,
It's the
the
very,
very top.
yeah. There you go, it's right there. You see Cascade Locks,
yeah.
next page, down there. It's kind of a continuation of the prior bullet point about what people love and don't like.
Oh,
I know it's
yes, I see,
minor,
yeah.
it's minor, but
It's a little awkward.
it's a little awkward.
So you see, between feel and don't, removing the word still. Do we need to add a comma there? I'm
Yeah, I
not a
think
math
so.
person.
Probably. It feels like it.
Still,
I'd put
It
it.
feels like there's a pause there, so.
Denise, do we
Or
need a comma
just-
there?
I'm
Hey.
sorry, I'm just looking at,
Page 47
at
and
the
top.
top, can we just grammatically,
However, those who love the small town community feel, don't love the small town constraints on community services. Removing the word
Cascade
still.
locks, those are, those are, okay. Coming from 46, it says, for those who live here, recommend events again, ease of movement, scale of Cascade locks and most valuable. However,
it's just a grammar thing.
yeah, and you know what, I wouldn't use love in a
Right,
formal document myself, but
I don't put still or love.
for those who live here, since community scale of Cascade, most valued characteristics of community. You're right,
It doesn't say.
how was it mentioned before? Residents have responded. Residents. Sure.
However, those who love the community.
However. Yeah, I think the whole however phrase
Yeah.
is repeating what was just shared.
Right,
No, it's
Those who live here recognize those sense of community is movement and scale of Cascade locks. Are the most valued characteristics.
contrary to the prior sentence. It's the opposite.
No, but so I'm saying, however, those who love, so she's calling that first sentence, the small town community feel. So how, for those who live here, recreational, of two sense of community, the ease of movement scale of Cascade locks. Are the most valued characteristics of the community, and we could say something like. Giving a small town feel,
Well,
No,
however,
it's
it's about the restrictions.
right, and then we can
Yeah,
make that a separate
I think
sentence.
she's just saying that, through the conversation she had, those are the things that came up that people they love the small town community feel, but they don't like the small town community
Okay.
constraints.
Right, and I'm agreeing with that,
Yeah,
but I just.
I think we just need to
Grammar
remember
wise,
still.
Some
Right.
The
residents.
question was, do we need a comma there? That's all we're
If
asking.
you get rid of still in that last sentence, do you need a comma?
That's all we're asking.
But I don't like love.
Well,
How, some residents who appreciate the small town
I don't care about the word.
Community
love.
Yeah.
community feel.
I don't think we need to rewrite the whole sentence. I'm just asking.
I say get rid of it however then, but then you have to say, because that sentence isn't accurate. Those who love the small town don't love the community straight. That's not true.
No.
Maybe some of them do.
It's
So it has to
what
say,
it said.
some residents.
No, I
No,
think
what
it's
it's
enough.
saying is, however, they love the small town community feel. But
It's
they
just it's
don't
tough to have
love the
this-
small town constraints on community services. They're just saying that there's a lack of community services because of the background in a small town. They like living in a small town, but they wish we had more services. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They like a small town, but as a small town, we can't afford our own police department.
Yeah.
They would love to have their own police department.
So I think all we have to, I think we just need to remove the word still.
I agree.
Okay, are we good with that?
I think there's a comma that goes there instead of still.
All right,
Okay, I still don't like love, but whatever. That's the only time I've seen it in here.
yeah,
Do we need a comma?
Where? How are those who love the small town feel?
Comma.
No, don't.
Instead of
because
still.
However, those who love the small town community feel, don't, no, that's the whole sentence, because these are the people.
Okay.
However, those
So we
who
just
don't
remove the word still.
love the small town constraints.
And that's all they said, but everything else is, all the stats.
Survey, yeah.
And we should not go around
No.
correcting.
New.
Yeah,
no, no.
I challenge you to find love elsewhere in here.
I gotta be in agreement with you on that one, Denise. I'm not, I love the word love, but
Well, maybe she wanted to emphasize, as some people said, I love it here.
It was definitely a theme of the getting responses from community members. They love the community.
That word is probably picked for every.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I still wanted to go back to this page 47 thing. Did we need to write something in there in our action where I couldn't find a place for it to fit? Does anybody see where it fits? Recommendation. Is it, okay,
adoptions amidst great amenities, recreational opportunities.
I guess my question is, given where the city's currently at and the goals of this council, this is a living document. It will change in 5-10 years. Is increasing recreational activities for youth or seniors something the city wants to take on in the next 5 to 10 years? Or are there other more pressing issues?
it's, okay, I'm gonna just say on, if we wanted to, page 27, downtown revitalization. Improve awareness of Cascade Lux Downtown District and its assets for residents and visitors. No, I guess that's just awareness. Okay,
They did list the concerns. Like
Okay.
activities for youth and seniors.
And then on page 31, recommendation DR 2.1 by 2125. Develop a downtown plan that highlights and interprets the historical significance of Cascade Locks for its residents and visitors. Addresses visitor parking signage. We don't have anything about services for the community in this, but. Do we?
Not recreational services, no.
Where did we list like? Other services that we,
There was a mention somewhere in here about,
Public services.
comments
Fire,
improve
EMS.
accessibility. We can talk about this about the city hall, fire shop, recreational developments, trails, parking lots. Buzz, by the committees.
I think your point, Jordan, I mean, while that is important, it doesn't, like, it's not necessarily on the priority list at the moment.
Yes,
So,
Right.
But as far as a vision for the future, you know, when we picture in our mind of what we want the city to look like,
Right, so maybe that's in the planning.
yeah.
I mean, obviously the city will support it if something comes up, but we're not gonna dedicate resources to it right now.
The resource, rec center is not on our priority list at the moment,
No, we don't have the money to build it, to maintain it, to staff it, to do anything.
so.
But we
I think-
don't want to have one.
And I think that it's great that it's mentioned in here that it's an area that needs to be addressed and something else. But I think that those things will come along, kind of following the other economic development, housing.
You kind of have to get all the building blocks, the foundation in, then other things will come.
So I wholeheartedly agree, I'd like to see more parks, the splash pad, and I mean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah,
Better range.
what do you say, this is like the 30,000 foot level?
30,000,
Foot level,
Yeah.
So,
looking out down from the airplane,
Yeah.
seeing our tiny little town.
So what are we gonna do in the next hour and 45 minutes?
take a nap.
yeah,
Have another sandwich.
Yeah.
go back to work.
Wow,
Thank you, whoever picked up this sandwich.
that was nice.
She picked it up, I ordered it.
Well, team up,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pizza was not an option. Ale House was closed and Stevenson was closed, so. So not an option.
This is a pizza desert.
It's a problem.
It really is.
Pizza and tacos, where is it?
Where's that?
So I will get this cleaned up and presented with the resolution for council's adoption at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
work sharing this with us, so we could go through it quickly.
We are adjourned.
Yeah,
Everybody agree?
we
All right.
agree.
Everyone have a
Wow,
great
I told
holiday.
you.
Enjoy